last 3 days because of my own insecurities, my own doubts, my own struggles, the wounds that I'm still dealing with from the past. Things that are holding me back from being who God has called me to be. And again, no matter what age or life stage you're in, it's all the same for every single one of us. And so through that, and something that I continue to journey on for the next 4.5 years, and I really have resolved over the last few days to lean into harder than I ever have before, is what does it mean to be a high-performance Christian? How can I continue to generate as much money as I possibly can? How can I continue to be the best I possibly can in the industry to the clients that I serve, all the while standing firm in my faith? I would love to know the answer to that. And I think I have some ideas, but I definitely don't have it figured out. But there are a couple of key questions that I believe that we need to ask ourselves if that's what we desire. I mean, one of the first questions actually is, when I say that we should try to make as much money as we possibly can, to some Christians that just absolutely freaks them out. Because that's like, I don't want to be a part of the prosperity gospel. I don't want to lean into this idea that I want a windfall of cash at my disposal. And I want to challenge you to say that I absolutely despise that gospel. That is not the true gospel, and that is nothing that Jesus ever preached. And at the same time, God has called you to make as much money as you possibly can, because when He equips you and He blesses you in that way, you have a significant opportunity to do things for the community that you serve that other people can't do. And so when you fear the opportunity to make money that God is giving you, you are preventing God in some way from doing the work that He's called you to do. And so we have to get over that idea that we can't go out and make a lot of money. We need to trust that if the Lord blesses us with it, He will equip us to use it in the right ways. Absolutely the case, right? Second to that is, what does it mean to be the best? What is the metric for that? I actually don't know the answer to that question, but I'm going to tell you what I tell my 13-year-old daughter all the time. My 13-year-old daughter is a straight-A student. She is a freak of nature in the sense that she will not stop working. She will come home and do her homework for 4 hours. And I'm like, babe, you really got 4 hours of homework in one night? She goes, no, Daddy. This is the homework for the next 5 days, but I want to get it all done tonight so I can get ahead and do whatever I need to do next. And I'm like, quit. And I'm like, babe, you want to know what? All I want is your best. And so she started to ask me, Daddy, what does it mean to be my best? And I said, your best is giving it to your all to every single situation that you're involved into. To work as hard as you possibly can to control the things that are inside of your control. To take your hands off of the things that you can't. Surround yourself with people like me and your mommy that are going to love you and tell the truth to you and ensure that you are giving it your all every single day. And that's what it means to be the best. Are you showing up and giving it your all every single day? I mean, for the easiest way to measure this is to look at professional sports. It's not just because I stand in Southern California, but Mike Trout is absolutely the best baseball player that exists in the major leagues right now, even with the injury that he's dealing with. And yet, when Mike Trout shows up to the plate, he's going to give it his all every single time. And there are times that he strikes out, and there are times that he hits the game-winning grand slam. What's the difference? Circumstance? Maybe something that's a little bit off in his head? But it's not his will to give it his best. He's going to show up every single day. Are you giving it your best? For you young guys, more so than you older gentlemen that are out there, and I'm sure you still have a lot of life in you older gentlemen, but to you young guys, there is a broken idea in society right now that says that you need to hustle hard. I hate that, and I will use every expletive to describe what I really feel about that. I don't believe in hustling hard. I hate the word grind, and I won't use it. Anybody that brags about being ground down from a solid to absolute dust doesn't understand what Jesus did for you. Right? But that doesn't mean that we don't show up every single day and give it everything we have. I coach my clients, and one of the things that I say to them is, when you go home every single night, I want you to stare your spouse in the face or stare yourself in the mirror and say, I gave it my all, and you believe that you've spoken the truth to yourself. That's what it means to give it our all. Are you doing that day in and day out? If you're sick, your all's not going to look the same as it does when you're healthy. If you're frustrated or something's broken at home, it's not going to look the same as it does when you're feeling really, really good. That doesn't mean that you don't show up and give it your all that day. We have to commit. So those are some of the foundational things that I believe are extremely important for us to ask ourselves. And as that weaves in practically, two areas that I believe that we need to cover if we're going to think about being a high-performance Christian. And that's my word for it. That's my narrative around it. You can call it whatever you want. But number one is we need to understand who we are in the midst of that. It's fascinating to me how many people in this room have been a part of a mission, vision, values exercise at an organization. Either as the leader, come on, as a leader or as an employee. Okay, just about everybody. How many people, be honest, have done that same exercise for yourself as an individual in your own personal life? Okay, a decent number of people. So if I was to sit here and ask you, what is your mission in life? What is the purpose that God has called you to? What are you truly passionate about and willing to lay your life down to pursue? And what are the principles that guide your life? It's fascinating that most people actually can't articulate that. Now, when I ask you what your purpose is, that's a massive question, right? I'll go to the Westminster Catechism and say that it's to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. And that's that's a true answer, but it's also kind of a cop-out. What is your purpose? What have you been called to do? I will tell you, that professionally, I believe that my calling in life is to help people see inside of themselves the things that they cannot see. To bring those things to the surface and leverage those things to make them undeniable weapons in the industries that they serve. I believe that's a gift that God has given me. You give me enough time and I can see that. And I can help them build that. I am confident there are a few people that can go out in consulting, that works out in coaching, that works out in speaking and training in a bunch of different areas. But I'm confident about that. But I can't lean into my purpose if I don't have principles that guide that. We have to have guardrails in place if we're going to navigate this life. What principles guide you? What things are you not willing to compromise? It's fascinating to me when I work with Christian businesses, and Christians, particularly in the western side of the country where everybody's a Christian, and I watch how often they compromise values. How often they treat clients, the things that they say to people, about people. My clients will talk to me sometimes about frustrations that they have with their clients. And I'm like, how could you ever talk about somebody that way? I don't care how bad they frustrate you. You would never say that in public. Why would you ever say that in private? What are the principles that guide you? That's the foundation we stand on. It's just not Christ. It's ultimately Him. But it's also the things that He has instilled into our hearts to allow us to then go out into the world and to serve the best way that we possibly can. And then the other side of that, and I'll wrap. How much time am I at? I don't even know.
5 minutes.
5 minutes left?
No.
Yeah, right. This guy wants me in big trouble fast. Okay, so the other side of that then is, so there's this idea of who we are. That's the foundation. If we are going to go out into the world and we are going to be the best we can possibly be, make a whole heap ton of money, we have to stand on a solid foundation. And so we have to understand who we are. The second side of that, though, then is we have to think about how we act. Now, it's a little bit different, though, than just our simple action. There's 3 categories that go into this. Number 1 is, what do your habits and disciplines look like on a daily basis? If we were to sit down and I was to say, tell me what your calendar looked like for the last 5 days, how many of you think that you would have a decent amount of time wasted in the midst of that week? Okay? I did this exercise. I'm going to tell the story really, really quick. So back when I was about 20, I'm 40, almost 45 right now. I was about 26 years old. I was the top sales guy for this publicly traded company, global corporation. I was hot stuff. And I had just recently come to faith, so God had not really started to smooth out those rough edges. And so the corporate trainer comes in. There's 25 salespeople in our division sitting in a room together. And the corporate trainer says, how many people are nailing time management? This guy, right? This guy, I think just about everybody raised their hand. And he said, so how many people are working a full 8 hours a day? And I'm like, oh, absolutely. All the while knowing that like I'm golfing 2 days a week with a buddy of mine and calling that work. But I'm like, yeah, me. So he says, all right, what I want you to do is, he says, I want you to go back next week, and he says, I want you to evaluate a whole week's worth of work. Every minute that you're working, I want you to log, and every minute that you're not, I want you to log. And I want you to come back. I'm coming back next week. I want you to come back next week. And I want you to report to me how much time you actually spent working. What do you think it was? So 40 hours, right? Everyone says they work 60, but so 40 hours is what I said I worked in a week. How many hours do you think I really worked in that week? 15 hours a week was just about it. And I was the top sales guy in the company, smashing records. 15 hours a week. And I was nailing productivity and time management. I was a liar. I was selling that company short, but I was selling myself short. What do your daily habits and disciplines look like? Are they truly being shaped or being utilized in a way that's going to shape the person that you want to become? Do you even know what habits and disciplines are appropriate for you? If you believe that every single person needs to wake up at 5:30 in the morning and every single person needs to read 40 to 60 books a year, you are wrong. You don't need to do that because some of you operate on a totally different time schedule during the day. Some of you, like me, don't retain information very well, and if you read more than 6 books a year, you can't even remember the